What if I told you that one of Hollywood's most glamorous bombshells, a woman who turned heads in the 1950s with her daring style and sultry screen presence, is still captivating audiences decades later? Mamie Van Doren, once known for leaving little to the imagination, has lived a life filled with stardom, scandal, and resilience. And today, her story is once again making headlines. Whether you admired her as the rebellious answer to Marilyn Monroe or are only just discovering her legacy, the truth about Mamie Van Doren will leave you amazed. In the golden age of Hollywood, few names carried as much intrigue as Mamie Van Doren. She was one of the original blonde bombshells, rising to fame alongside icons like Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield. But unlike many of her contemporaries, Van Doren wasn't afraid to push boundaries. She embraced a more provocative image, wearing daring outfits, playing seductive roles, and establishing herself as a sex symbol who didn't apologize for it. Her boldness shocked conservative audiences at the time, but it also set her apart. She wasn't just another pretty face. She was Hollywood's wild card. Mamie's career took off in the 1950s when she signed with Universal Pictures. The studio saw her as their answer to Monroe, but Mamie quickly proved that she had her own flair. She starred in a string of films that leaned into her rebellious image, including Untamed Youth and High School Confidential. These weren't prestige pictures, but they became cult classics, cementing Van Doren's status as the bad girl of Hollywood. She was unapologetic, outspoken, and unafraid to flaunt her sexuality in a time when women in Hollywood were often expected to play it safe. But her personal life was just as headline-grabbing as her career. Van Doren's romances became the stuff of legend, as she was linked to some of the most famous men of the 20th century, from Elvis Presley to Frank Sinatra and even baseball legend Bo Belinsky. The tabloids loved her, and she became a symbol of Hollywood's glamorous, scandalous underbelly. While Marilyn Monroe was seen as tragic and mysterious, Mamie was rebellious, fiery, and full of life. Yet, like so many Hollywood stars of her era, Van Doren's career eventually slowed. By the 1960s and 70s, the bombshell era had faded, and studios shifted toward grittier, more realistic films. But Mamie never completely disappeared. Instead, she reinvented herself. She turned to music, live performances, and eventually writing. Her 1987 autobiography, Playing the Field, pulled back the curtain on her life, dishing on her relationships, career struggles, and the realities of being a sex symbol in Hollywood. The book was raw, bold, and, much like Mamie herself, left little to the imagination. What makes Mamie Van Doren especially remarkable is how she has aged on her own terms. Now well into her 90s, she continues to captivate fans with her confidence, beauty, and resilience. Unlike many stars who fade into obscurity, Mamie has embraced her legacy, often engaging with fans on social media and sharing her thoughts on Hollywood past and present. She is living proof that glamour doesn't have an expiration date. Even today, photos of Mamie Van Doren continue to spark conversation. She represents an era of Hollywood that was bold, sexy, and unapologetically rebellious. And while time has changed the world around her, Mamie remains a reminder of what it means to live life fearlessly. She was never content to blend into the background, whether on screen, in love, or in life. She demanded to be seen. So, what's the latest on Mamie Van Doren? She may have left little to the imagination in her Hollywood prime, but now she stands as a living legend, still breaking the rules and challenging the idea of what aging in the spotlight should look like. From scandalous starlet to timeless icon, her story is one of survival, reinvention, and undeniable charm. Because Mamie Van Doren isn't just a name from the past, she's proof that true icons never really fade away. They endure, they inspire, and they continue to leave us in awe, decade after decade.